Hey y'all, it's Wicked Deke here, just doing a quick video, Gabe Vilardi injury update video, if you will. It's January 12th, 2019. So why am I doing a Vilardi injury update? Well, because your beloved Kings won't. They don't release any information regarding him or most players, which is kind of bizarre, but they have that fortress mentality that suggested it was better to have died a small child than to give out any information to a strange group like, the fans. So what's up with the big V? Well, as you probably know, Gabe went to the World Junior Championship camp for the Canadians, and his back was acting up, and he was unable to play and make the team. So he was cut. At that point, most people thought he would return to LA, where he would continue his rehab in an effort to get healthy with the Kings. And the Kings made an odd decision. They said, nope, we're sending him back to the junior club. And so Gabe returned to Kingston, where he is located now. Now, the thing you need to understand about the Kingston team is they were very good last year, and this year they are not. And so they're actually going into a rebuilding mode. And when Gabe was going back there, heading back, the trade deadline was coming up for the team. And so the GM was front and center and talking to a lot of the media outlets in Kingston about various players, including Gabe. And in fact, when Gabe got there, he actually gave an interview to the local newspaper, which is known as the Whig Standard. Awesome name. I'm going to subscribe. You should as well, because any newspaper that names themselves the Whig Standard deserves our respect. So what do we know about Gabe? Oh, it's pretty straightforward. Gabe is being shut down for the remainder of the Kingston season. And by shut down, I mean shut down. He's not going to play with the team. He's not going to skate with the team. In fact, he's not going to skate at all. He's off skates. And his rehab has been changed dramatically. He indicated in the interview that the Kings had him doing 4 to 6 hours of rehab a day for his back injury, which is insane, in my opinion. Having had a back injury, if the doctor told me that was going to be the rehab schedule, well, those would have been fighting words, because there's no way in hell I would have agreed to that. And it sounds like Gabe didn't really enjoy it much either. So instead, what they're going to do is limit him to maybe an hour a day. And the rest of the time, they're really just going to let him kind of relax and let his body naturally heal. He's 19 years old, and the body can often, take care of itself. So the goal apparently seems to be just to let him stabilize and get back into some kind of a, situation where hopefully the back takes care of itself. How well that works and all, who knows? We'll just have to see. The other thing about it is Gabe is back in Kingston instead of LA because apparently he's either originally from Kingston or his family lives there now. And so reading between the lines, it sounds like that they may want to get him in an area where he has some support. And mentally, that will probably help him out, because you have to think at this point he's in pretty bad shape mentally. I mean, imagine, your whole dream is to play in the NHL. You get drafted high. You're about to get there. In fact, you're going to, probably make the team, this year and the next couple months. And then you wake up one day and you can't lean over and tie your shoelaces. And then over the next, 6 to 7 months, physicians are telling you, oh, well, here's what we're going to do to solve the problem. And nothing's working. That would be cause for concern, particularly for a 19-year-old. So having him in Kingston, that may be one of the benefits. Maybe it'll help improve his mood a bit. And then the other thing about the Kingston season, when we say that they're going to shut him down for the season, it sounds pretty dramatic, but keep in mind that this is the juniors. And so the season doesn't end in May. It ends in March. So we're really only talking about 6 to 8 weeks here, not a really, really long period of time. At the end of that season, Vilardi would be eligible to go back and play with the Reign. Or with the Kings. Obviously, if he's feeling well at that point, if that occurs, my personal view is somebody in the Kings front office should be fired. Why would you bring this kid back at that point, even if he's feeling well? I mean, we just went through this whole process. To me, you don't touch him until the end of summer. You let him do his thing for the next 7 months. Maybe you start trying to introduce him to some attractive young yoga instructors so that they can work on his flexibility over the spring and summer, so that when he shows up, next fall for camp, he's as flexible as a rubber band. So that would probably be a good strategy here. So anyways, Vilardi is pretty much done for the season. GM quotes. I know you want to hear from the GM. So the GM with the Kingston team is a bit different than Mr. Blake. As you've probably noticed with the Kings, as the season's gone downhill, Rob Blake has vanished. Yes, when the going gets tough, Mr. Blake apparently crawls under his desk. The Kingston GM is a bit of a different story. He is front and center, and he goes on camera and does interviews, and he answers questions from fans and talks about players. Can you imagine? Wow. He doesn't have anything really revolutionary to say about Vilardi, but I'll give you the quote anyways. The gentleman's name is Darren Keeley, I believe. And he says, quote, everybody just kind of felt it was in his best interest to not be moved, i.e. traded at the trade deadline and not played this year at this level. It only makes sense for Gabe to get 100% healthy and get this thing figured out once and for all. And the best way to do that is to shut down for a while. So when I mentioned trade, the phrase not to be moved, there were teams actually trying to trade for Vilardi at the deadline for the junior league. And that's a positive sign because it suggests that a lot of people don't think that this is, some kind of permanent problem. Some of the commentary you saw seemed to suggest that these teams thought maybe they could get him back for the playoffs. And if they did, he's such a stud that he would make a huge difference in a drive for a championship. So that's a very positive thing, obviously, for Kings fans. So I know there's a lot of frustration with Vilardi, but again, this isn't him doing something intentional. He's just hurt. And the hope has to be that he heals because this kid is a stud. The Kings are desperate for high skill players, and this kid is one. He's a difference maker. He's a first line player. And so, be patient and let's hope this kid heals up. Obviously, the Kings are never going to release any information from him, about him. So I'll keep an eye on the Kingston resources over the next few months. If there's any developments, any information comes out, I'll create a new video on Mr. Vilardi. And so consider subscribing to the channel and keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, have yourself a good one. Deke out.